For thousands of years, a deep, resonant hum has pulsed beneath the vast, frozen expanse of the Arctic. It wasn't a myth, not a sailor's tall tale whispered in firelit taverns, but a memory. A living, breathing rhythm that has patiently waited for humanity to remember how to listen. This is the story of that awakening of a dream long forgotten and of the true legacy of the Vikings. Our journey begins not with a dragon-headed longship, but with a state-of-the-art research vessel, the Aurora. On board is Erik, a brilliant but jaded seismologist. To him, the Arctic was a data set, a collection of seismic waves and ice core samples. He was chasing a ghost signal, a low-frequency anomaly that defied every known geological explanation. His colleagues called it the Arctic hum, a curiosity to be cataloged and filed away. But for Erik, it was an obsession, a puzzle that whispered from the depths, pulling him further and further north, away from a world he no longer understood. Erik had lost his grandfather, a man who spoke in riddles and rhymes, a keeper of old Nordic tales. He'd often speak of the Heartslater Jair, the heartbeat of the earth, a sound only the ancient ones could hear. Erik had dismissed them as fairy tales. Yet here he was, chasing that very fairy tale with the most advanced technology money could buy. The hum was real, and with every nautical mile, it grew stronger, more insistent, seeming to resonate not just in his equipment, but in the very marrow of his bones. It was a call he couldn't ignore. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in a quiet Scandinavian village, a young woman named Mia was rediscovering the past in a different way. Mia was an apprentice luthier, a maker of instruments. Her hands, stained with varnish and wood dust, worked to bring old wood back to life. She was restoring a collection of ancient instruments, including a peculiar stringless harp found in a Viking burial mound. The wood was dark and impossibly dense, etched with swirling runes that no scholar could fully decipher. The local museum curator told her it was likely a ceremonial object, but Mia felt something else. When she held it, she felt a faint vibration, a hum that seemed to emanate from the wood itself. It was a note so low, so profound, it felt less like a sound and more like a presence. She began to experiment, trying to replicate the vibration, convinced that the harp wasn't meant to be played with strings, but with something far more fundamental. Back in the Arctic, Erik's team had reached the epicenter of the hum. The ice here was different, ancient and crystalline, glowing with a faint ethereal blue light. His instruments went wild. The hum was no longer just a sound wave. It was a complex pattern, almost like a language. It was a symphony of geological pressures, ocean currents, and something else. Something that felt organic, alive. It was the planet's own song. Erik, standing on the deck, felt a sense of awe he hadn't experienced since he was a child, listening to his grandfather's stories. The heartbeat of the earth, it was real. As Erik recorded the complex frequencies, Mia, guided by intuition, began to work on the ancient harp. She discovered that the runes were not just decorations. They were a guide. They depicted celestial alignments and wave patterns. Following their intricate design, she began to sand and carve the harp's body, tuning it not to a musical scale, but to a specific resonance. She felt like she was in a trance, her hands moving with a knowledge that wasn't her own, guided by the faint hum of the wood. A breakthrough came for Erik when he overlaid the hum's frequency pattern with historical climate data. The rhythm wasn't random, corresponded perfectly with ancient aurora borealis cycles, with magnetic field fluctuations, with the very breath of the planet. Then he input something on a whim, the phonetic patterns of Old Norse poetry. The screen lit up. The hum's pattern matched the cadence of the ancient sagas. It wasn't just a sound, it was a story told by the earth itself. At that exact moment, Mia placed the finishing touches on the harp. The workshop was silent. She held the instrument, her heart pounding. Hesitantly, she began to hum, a low, deep note she felt in her chest, the same note that had been calling to her from the wood, and the harp responded. The runes began to glow with the same soft blue light Erik was witnessing in the Arctic ice. A pure, resonant tone filled the room, a sound of perfect harmony that seemed to quiet the entire world. It wasn't a sound made by strings, but by the sympathetic resonance between her own body and the ancient wood. Erik's equipment registered a sudden, powerful spike. The hum from the ice shifted, becoming clearer, purer. It was harmonizing with a new signal, a signal originating from thousands of miles away. On his screen, two identical wave patterns merged into one from the heart of the Arctic, the other from a small village in Scandinavia. He stared in disbelief. It was a conversation, a communion across time and space. In that instant, everything clicked into place. The sagas, the runes, the hum. The Vikings were not just fierce warriors and explorers. They were listeners. Their voyages weren't just for conquest. They were pilgrimages. They followed the Earth's song, the heart's liturgy, seeking places where the veil between worlds was thin, where they could listen to the planet's heartbeat. Their longships were giant tuning forks. Their runes were acoustic maps. They didn't seek to conquer the world. They sought to be in tune with it. The stringless harp wasn't just an instrument. It was a key, a device designed to help a human being harmonize with the Earth's frequency, to join the planetary choir. It was a tool for communion. Mia, the luthier, had become the first person in 1,000 years to play the Earth's song. Erik, the scientist, was the first to record it. Together, without ever meeting, they had reconnected a broken circuit. The story spread, not as a sensational headline, but as a quiet, growing realization. People began to listen differently. To the wind in the trees, to the rhythm of the ocean, to the silence between their own heartbeats. The Arctic hum was a reminder that peace is not the absence of noise, but the presence of harmony. It was the legacy of our ancestors, a dream not of power, but of connection. The Vikings' true ambition was never to conquer the world, but to listen to it, to understand their place within its grand symphonic design. Through Erik's journey to the edge of the world and Mia's rediscovery of an ancient craft, humanity began to remember. The dream of the Vikings finally awoke, not in the clash of swords, but in the resonance of a shared planetary heartbeat. We remembered at last how to listen. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories that connect the past, present, and future. Stay curious and keep listening.